Each of these videos was supposed to start as usual. A record button pressed, a few words into the camera, a shooting plan that seemed safe. None of them were going to risk their lives. They were just doing what they had always done. This video features 8 stories of YouTubers for whom filming was their last act. No fiction, no excessive emotions, and no attempts to shock. Just a sequence of events where one mistake, one decision, or one underestimated detail ruined everything. These stories are not about content. They are about a line that is sometimes crossed without even realizing it. His name was David Collins. He was 24, and by the time it was the summer of 2016, he considered himself a man who had found the perfect balance between freedom and risk. David ran a small travel channel on YouTube, dedicated to little-known routes, hidden viewpoints, and places where, in his words, most tourists just don't go. His videos didn't go viral, but he had a steady audience of people who appreciated silence, nature, and a sense of presence without flashy effects or aggressive editing. In early June, he traveled to Yosemite National Park. The plan was to shoot a video about panoramas that are not included in the official tourist routes. David studied the map in advance, read several forums, and was convinced that he understood the local terrain. In his notes, he even noted that he wasn't planning anything dangerous, just to go a little off the beaten path. The shooting began early in the morning. The camera recorded the slow ascent, the change of light, and the fog that gradually dissipated over the valley. David spoke calmly, without haste, explaining why official viewpoints do not give a full picture of the scale of the local landscapes. At one point, he stepped off the marked trail, commenting that there was a clear shot ahead with no people or railings. He did not use a tripod. He held the camera in his hands, constantly changing its position to catch the right angle. The ground under his feet consisted of small stones and dust, which easily shifted even under a light weight. This was evident on the recording. A few stones rolled down, but David didn't pay attention to it. He took another step forward. At that moment, the surface under his foot shifted. The camera tilted sharply, and the image lost its clarity. The recording captured a short sliding sound and a sporadic downward movement. A fall from a great height left no chance. Death was instantaneous. Rescuers found the body later that day after other tourists reported abandoned equipment near the cliff edge. The official conclusion was laconic: an accident, going beyond the permitted zone, loss of balance. The camera was returned to the family. The recording was never published. David's channel existed for some time without updates. Under the last videos, there were comments from viewers who were waiting for a new episode from Yosemite. They didn't know that this video had already been filmed. It just ended where the journey of a man who took one extra step over the edge ended. Michael Rivers was known only within his niche. He was 23, lived in Detroit, and made videos about parkour in abandoned industrial zones. His YouTube channel didn't have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but he was considered consistent and careful by his viewers. Michael often repeated that he did not do stunts for the sake of likes, and always calculated the risks. It was this reputation that created a sense of control, both for him and for those who watched his videos. Detroit was the perfect backdrop for him. Empty factories, warehouses, and dilapidated buildings became part of the cityscape. In March of 2017, Michael decided to shoot a new video on the territory of an old car factory that hadn't been in operation for over a decade. The building looked stable, at least from the outside. The roof, he said, was clean and flat, and the route was easy. The shooting began in the afternoon. He entered the building through a broken gate, climbed the stairs to the upper level, and went out onto the roof. The camera recorded familiar movements, warm-ups, a few test jumps, and a careful inspection of the surface. Michael commented that the main thing was not haste, but accuracy. At first glance, nothing seemed to indicate danger. The problem was the roof covering. Over the years of inactivity, its surface had become covered with a thin layer of dust, gravel, and small debris. From above, it looked like a solid foundation, but under load, the material behaved differently. As Michael began to move along the edge to capture a wide view of the city, one of the anchor points proved to be unstable. The step was inaccurate for just a moment. His foot went over loose gravel, and his body lost its balance. The camera recorded a sharp sideways movement and a cropped shot of the sky. The fall from several floors was fatal. According to the doctors, he died instantly. The body was found later that day. The circumstances were quickly established, access to the building was closed, and the area was declared an emergency. The video from the camera was reviewed by investigators, but it was never posted online. Michael's channel was left without any explanation, only old videos and comments from viewers waiting for the next episode. This story was another reminder that even control and experience do not guarantee safety. In places where no one has been responsible for the condition of structures for years, one small detail can make all the difference. Sometimes it only takes one inaccurate step at height for a video to remain unfinished. Sarah Miller was well known in the fitness YouTube community. She was 28, lived in the suburbs of Phoenix, and ran a channel dedicated to intense workouts without gyms or expensive equipment. Her videos were based on the idea of discipline and constant self-pushing. Sarah often repeated that limits exist only in the mind, and that the body can withstand much more than is commonly believed. For many viewers, she became an example of self-control and willpower. In August of 2018, Sarah was preparing a series of videos called 7 Days Without Weakness. It was a format of daily workouts with minimal rest, which she planned to film in her own home studio. The room was not air-conditioned, and the temperature outside on those days exceeded 40 degrees. In her notes, she wrote that the heat would only enhance the effect and show the real work of the body. The shooting on the third day lasted longer than usual. Sarah performed a series of exercises without pauses, commenting on the technique and motivating the audience to keep going. The video showed her fatigue, but she ignored it, explaining it as temporary weakness. Next to the camera were supplements that she regularly mentioned in her videos as a way to maintain energy and concentration. Over time, her movements became less precise. Her breathing became erratic, and her voice trembled noticeably. However, the filming did not stop. It was supposed to be an honest, unedited footage that would show the audience the true price of endurance. At one point, Sarah paused, leaned on the wall, and tried to continue the exercise. The camera captured her slowly sinking to the floor. Help arrived too late. Doctors diagnosed her with cardiac arrest. Later, experts concluded that the combination of extreme physical exertion, high temperature, dehydration, and stimulants played a critical role. The body simply could not withstand the regimen that was presented as a motivational example. Sarah's channel was left without the series finale. The last video was never published, but the news of her death quickly spread among her subscribers. Comments under the old videos included words of gratitude and unanswered questions. Sarah's story was a reminder that calls to work to the limit can have real consequences. Even a well-trained body has a point beyond which endurance turns into danger. Before we continue, I have a brief message for you. If you're watching this video right now, please subscribe to the channel, like it, and leave a comment. This is a signal to YouTube's algorithms that the video is worth watching, and then more people will see it. The more active your engagement, the wider the audience that will hear these stories and think about their implications. Emily Harper was 21. She lived in a small town in Ohio and studied media communications. Along with her studies, Emily ran a YouTube channel dedicated to abandoned and closed facilities. She filmed old hospitals, abandoned factories, abandoned tanks, and buildings that were gradually disappearing from the map. In her videos, Emily spoke calmly and without sensationalism, emphasizing that her goal was to capture places that no one would remember soon. In the fall of 2015, she became interested in an old reservoir on the outskirts of the county. The facility had been closed many years ago due to its state of disrepair, and access to the territory was officially prohibited. There were warning signs at the entrance, but like many such places, they had long since faded and did not seem to be a real threat. Emily decided that the shooting would take no more than an hour and would not require any special preparation. She arrived there alone, bringing her camera, a spare battery, and a small tripod. The plan was to make a calm research video without any sudden movements or risky scenes. The first minutes of shooting went smoothly. Emily showed the general view of the building, told its history, and drew attention to the cracks in the concrete and traces of erosion. As she started to walk down the concrete slope, the camera captured a wet surface covered with a thin layer of moss. The reservoir had not been used for a long time, but the drainage system remained active. Water was constantly flowing down the slope, making it slippery and unstable. Emily moved slowly, trying to keep her balance, and at the same time keep the camera in the frame. At one point, she took a step to the side to get a wider shot. Her foot lost its footing, and she began to slide down. The fall was sudden and almost silent. Emily found herself in a technical channel with a strong current, from which it was impossible to get out on her own. The camera continued recording for a few more seconds, capturing only the sound of water. Her disappearance became known later that day when she did not get in touch. Rescue services found her body a few hours later. The official conclusion was short: an accident in a prohibited area. The video was never published, and Emily's channel was left without updates. The story of the forgotten reservoir became another example of how the desire to record closed places collides with the reality of physical danger. Some locations disappear for a reason. Sometimes it's not a mystery behind a closed gate, but a direct threat to life. Lauren Price was 27 years old. She lived in Austin, Texas, and ran a lifestyle YouTube channel dedicated to healthy living, minimalism, and self-discipline. Her videos were calm and calibrated: morning routines, nutrition tips, and talks about controlling your body and thoughts. Lauren did not position herself as a doctor, but often spoke about her personal experience, which was presented as a universal path to cleansing and inner balance. In the spring of 2019, she decided to make a series of videos about extreme detox. It was supposed to be an honest experiment without embellishment, in which she would show by her own example how the body reacts to a complete rejection of solid food. Lauren assured her subscribers that everything was under control and that she was listening carefully to her body. The video was planned to be shot at home, in her usual format, without any outside help. The first days passed without any obvious problems. She posted short updates, talking about the ease and clarity of her thoughts. However, every day the filming became more difficult. Lauren looked exhausted. Her movements slowed down, but she explained it as a stage of adjustment. The camera recorded long monologues in which she convinced herself and the audience that difficult feelings were a necessary part of the process. On the fourth day of filming, she hardly got out of bed. However, the recording did not stop. Lauren spoke more quietly, often paused, but insisted on completing the experiment. She did not seek medical attention, believing that it would destroy the purity of the experience. Next to the camera was a glass of water and a notebook with a video plan that was never completed. When the condition deteriorated sharply, it was too late. The body could not withstand prolonged dehydration and loss of electrolytes. Doctors who arrived at the call of neighbors pronounced him dead. According to the official conclusion, the cause was an acute electrolyte imbalance caused by voluntary food and fluid restriction. Lauren's channel was left without completing the series. The last video was never released, and comments with questions that no one answered began to appear under the previous videos. Her story quickly disappeared from the news, but left behind a silent archive of videos in which body control gradually turned into a loss of boundaries. It was another example of how an experiment conceived as motivational content ended up at a point after which nothing could be fixed. Thomas Blake was a travel YouTuber from Canada who didn't like popular routes and congested locations. He was 31, and he built most of his videos around a sense of isolation. Roads without people, landscapes without commentary, long static shots with almost nothing happening. His channel was not chasing rapid growth. Thomas believed that peace and solitude would find their viewers on their own. In the winter of 2020, he traveled through the province of Alberta. The idea for the new video was simple: to show a frozen lake at a time when the world around us seems to stop. Thomas wanted to film a long walk across the ice with minimal editing to convey the feeling of absolute silence. The locals he had talked to the day before advised him not to stray too far from the shore. The ice was uneven that season, but he took these warnings as excessive caution. The shooting began in the morning. The camera captured a flat white surface, muffled footsteps, and breath turning to steam. Thomas walked slowly, holding the camera on a stabilizer, stopping from time to change the angle. He was not in a hurry and did not look tense. At some point, the shore was far behind him, and there were no landmarks around except for the horizon line. The problem was that the temperature had been hovering around 0 for several days in a row. The ice, which seemed thick and solid, had weak patches that were invisible from the surface. As Thomas took another step, a dull crack sounded. The camera shuddered, the frame tilted sharply, and the white surface disappeared from view. The fall was instantaneous. The icy water closed around the body, and the heavy equipment was pulled down. According to the official conclusions, the sharp temperature shock and limited space left no chance for self-rescue. The recording was cut off almost immediately after the fall. The rescue operation began only after Thomas did not return to his rented accommodation and did not respond to messages. He was found the next day not far from the site of the fall. The camera was recovered along with the rest of his equipment. Some of the footage was reviewed by investigators, but none of the videos were published. Thomas's channel remained in the form it was in at the time of the shooting. Under the last videos, there were comments about the peace and quiet he was able to convey. The irony was that the very silence for which he went out on the ice became the final point of his journey. Sometimes nature does not give signals in advance. It just waits for a mistake. Daniel Cross was 29 years old. He lived in the suburbs of Cleveland and ran a YouTube channel dedicated to automotive experiments and homemade technical solutions. His videos were different from professional reviews. No studio lights, no crew, no complicated editing. Daniel filmed in his own garage and often emphasized that he was showing real mechanics without embellishment. It was this simplicity that created trust on the part of the viewers. His channel gradually grew. The videos with non-standard engine modifications, where Daniel tried to combine parts that were not designed to work together, attracted the most interest. He did not have an engineering degree, but he considered himself experienced enough to rely on practice and his own calculations. In the comments, viewers repeatedly warned him against risky decisions, but he replied that he had everything under control. In September of 2021, Daniel began filming a video about an experimental engine with an increased pressure in the system. It was supposed to be a test that would show what the design is really capable of. The garage was closed, with the gate halfway down to reduce noise. The filming was done continuously to capture the entire process without any editing glues. The first minutes looked familiar. Daniel commented on each step, explaining what parts had been changed and why he thought the system was stable. The engine started working, and the readings on the improvised sensors were growing. At some point, the sound became sharper, but Daniel did not stop the test. He moved closer to show the audience a close-up of the mechanism. The critical moment came suddenly. Due to the excessive pressure, one of the elements could not withstand the load. The explosion in the confined space was fatal. Experts concluded that the lack of protective screens and ventilation significantly aggravated the consequences. The camera fell and the recording stopped in a few seconds. Neighbors called the rescue services after hearing a loud sound. However, the help could not change anything. The investigation confirmed that the cause of the tragedy was a technical experiment without observing basic safety rules. No signs of outside interference were found. Daniel's channel remained online. Warnings from viewers began to appear under his videos, asking others not to repeat what they had seen. The last recording was never published, but its existence became known after the investigation was completed. This story showed that a closed space and the feeling of complete control can create a dangerous illusion. When an experiment goes beyond miscalculations, there is no time to correct it. Caitlin Morrow was 25 years old, and her YouTube channel was dedicated to nighttime atmospheric vlogs and walks around the city and the coast. She didn't strive for hype. Her videos were quiet, almost meditative, with long shots where the sound of waves and wind became the main element. Viewers appreciated her calm approach, her slow narration, and her attention to detail that usually went unnoticed. Caitlin filmed herself, often without assistance, and the camera was her only witness to the events. In May 2022, she decided to make a new video on the coast of Florida, where an old pier overlooking the water had long been considered dangerous. Her goal was to capture the atmosphere of nighttime silence and waves crashing against the structure. Caitlin arrived late in the evening. It was dark on the coast, but she navigated the wind and moonlight quite confidently. The camera was mounted on a tripod, and she filmed herself in motion, slowly walking along the wooden planks of the pier, commenting on the surrounding space and the sound of the ocean. The wind was picking up, and the boards under her feet became unstable. Caitlin walked slowly, checking each step, but at some point she came too close to the edge, where the pier's structure had long been weakened and rotted. The camera recorded her movements, showing her bending down to take in the horizon, and how the plank supporting her weight abruptly gave way. The fall was instantaneous. Caitlin's body was in the water, and the heavy tripod and camera pulled her down. The current was strong, and the chances of getting out on her own were minimal. Rescue services arrived only after the family reported her missing. Her body was found a few hours later, not far from the fall site, and her equipment was damaged and partially drowned. The video she was filming was only fragmentary, and even this footage conveyed the feeling that something irreparable had happened. Her channel subscribers could not believe for a long time that a peaceful night walk had turned into a tragedy. Caitlin's channel remained active, but without new content. Viewers wrote comments expressing sadness and warnings, trying to understand what had gone wrong. Her story became a warning that even a familiar, peaceful location can hide a deadly danger. Sometimes one step in the dark, one wrong move, or unstable surface is enough to change everything forever. And although her videos were full of beauty and silence, it was silence that became the last companion on Caitlin's nighttime journey. These 8 stories are not united by the genre of content, the number of subscribers, or the level of training. They are united by something else, the moment when filming stopped being just a record of reality and became part of the risk. In each case, there was no intention to die. They had a habit of trusting themselves, their experience, their technique, or the feeling that one more step would not change anything. But it was this step that turned out to be the final one. YouTube stores millions of hours of video, but some videos were never published. They remained on memory cards, in the archives of the investigation, or in the stories of loved ones. These stories are neither a warning nor a sentence. They are a reminder that a camera does not protect, and a shot is never worth a life. Sometimes the most important decision is to stop recording in time.